Hugo Ekitike. But by the time this comes out, I mean, even now as we speak, this is pretty much a done deal.
Mm.
I've been reporting over the weekend for Transfermarkt, alongside a lot of other journalists that have been on this. This is one of those deals where whenever you see anyone who say exclusive, this is about this exclusive the Clinton marriage. I'm sorry, but this is so public, everyone really knows about it. And there's some excellent other reporting out there, I got to say. And I updated the article according to Transfermarkt yesterday to reflect what's going on. The two clubs have reached an agreement. You will have seen different transfer fees out there. I've been told it's 95 million euros. Liverpool briefing 91 million euros. I've been told to take that figure with a grain of salt by someone who doesn't work for Frankfurt or Liverpool, so an independent source. I was told to take the German number over the English number. Be that as it may, it does include some bonuses, but these bonuses are so easy to reach that Frankfurt basically can calculate them into the total fee. So if you see reporting of 95 million euros, that's correct. Frankfurt will receive 95 million euros for Hugo Ekitike. That matches the fee that they received for Kolo Muani, which was also actually actually very similarly structured deal. There too, it was 95 million euros, but it had included some bonuses. But these bonuses were like 5 goals scored, 15 games played. Even Kolo Muani, in the short time, unsuccessful time with PSG that he had, reached those bonuses. It's the same thing here. Frankfurt are guaranteed 95 million euros, and I think our side, the side that we work for Transfermarkt, will reflect that fee right away. But that deal is now more or less concluded. He was left out of the friendly against FSV Frankfurt on Saturday, I believe it was, and he's not. And the club has made this official. He's not traveling with Eintracht Frankfurt to the training camp in Louisville, in Philadelphia, where they're playing. They're playing two friendlies in Louisville. They're playing one friendly in Philadelphia, and yeah, that is basically. I think we can probably expect a medical announcement later this week. I think Liverpool are getting an excellent player. He's a player who can play as a number 9. He can play on the left. He makes the team a lot younger. This is something I think that they've been working on very, very hard, making this team younger, reflecting sort of what PSG have done in the previous window, right? Also trying to get younger, getting more mobile, getting harder to play against. And yeah, this is the big deal that Frankfurt have done. And Stefan, your thoughts on Liverpool securing yet another really good player?
Yeah, he's obviously a very good player, which is why Liverpool have decided to spend this amount of money on him. In a summer where they spent obviously a huge amount of money on a lot of players. I think he's a really interesting forward. I think if you're looking at stats and you're wondering whether Liverpool have picked up this kind of world class goal scorer, you'd probably be a little bit disappointed. He's not, in my opinion, an out and out number 9. He's not Erling Haaland. He's not Kylian Mbappe. He's not Robert Lewandowski, Harry Kane. I think the thing that's really interesting about Hugo Ekitike is that if you do look at what he excels in, it is creating chances, assists, key passes, uh, progressive carries, successful take-ons, which is just other terms for basically dribbling by opponents. And I think what's really interesting, actually, I had a look at this before we started recording, that if you rank every kind of forward by progressive carries, so like, attacking dribbles and key passes per 90, Yuki Kitiki is more or less the best in Europe's top 5 leagues for players under the age of 23 or 23 and under. And I think that's probably why Liverpool have gone for him. There are probably better players if they were looking for a clear number 9, if they're looking for a clear striker, a penalty box striker, a target man, whatever you want to call that. But if you're looking for someone who can play off the main target man or can make runs, who can break lines, who can create chances in the box for other players, I think there are a few players at Hugo Ekitike's age range that are better than him. Interestingly enough, another player who ranked very similarly was Nick Voltemata, who obviously Bayern Munich want to sign, and we've spent much of the summer talking about how he might kind of play some sort of supporting role to Harry Kane on that left-hand side. I suspect Hugo Ekitike will play a very similar role at Liverpool. He'll probably still be up front technically because obviously Mohamed Salah plays on the right hand side. But as we've seen at Frankfurt, Manu, he can play up front. He can be the number 9. But he obviously probably excelled at his very best when he played alongside Omar Marmoush, and Marmoush was distracting defenders, creating space for him, and Ikitike was able to kind of run in space with or without the ball. And I think that's really what it comes down to. And I think that's why Frankfurt were so keen to, Liverpool were so keen to sign him. I think that's also why Newcastle were so keen to sign him. They saw a player that they could see who could play alongside Alexander Isaac and perhaps replace him one day if they were to sell him. Whereas with Liverpool, they're probably looking at a guy who can play alongside Mohamed Salah. And then in a couple of years' time, when Salah moves on, he can go on and play that number 9 role. And maybe they bring someone else in to support him. So I think he's a great player. I think he's done a tremendous job turning his career around since leaving PSG. I think the talent was always there. It's just, he just wasn't Neymar or Messi or Mbappe during that time at PSG, so it just didn't quite work out for him. And I guess he's going to go on and see what he can do in the Premier League. But yeah, once again, Frankfurt kind of go rummaging in the bargain bins, Manu. They find a diamond in the rough, and they're going to make a tidy profit off it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, Markus Krösche and Eintracht Frankfurt were really keen on getting this done as quickly as possible, and as early as possible, because the one thing that they always felt with the Randall Kolo Muani thing is that it took way too long and it was way too late, and they weren't able to react when it happened, right? Because it happened actually after the transfer window closed, because PSG got an extension at the time to get this deal across the line, and they really just didn't want to be in a situation where that happened. So they were really transparent to the player. They were really transparent to the clubs that they were talking to, both Newcastle and Liverpool. And ultimately, Hugo Ekitike, when the Liverpool offer came in, very quickly said, "I don't want to go to Newcastle." That's why there wasn't a second bid. He said, I really want to go and believe in the project that Arne Slot is building at Anfield, and you can see what they're doing. The way that they bring in players, the players that they're targeting, I think is very exciting. It is in many ways following the blueprint that PSG have laid out. With their project, is to get younger, faster, more dynamic. We did an entire show on how PSG kind of reprinted the blueprint, right? And sort of said, like, we don't want to have one main man anymore in the attack. We're going to play a former winger in the form of Ousmane Dembele. We're going to have lots of young players that can cause trouble and are difficult to play against. And you've seen with Liverpool, they're getting younger now in the attack. They're signing players under 24. You see it now with Man City doing something very similar. And I think that is... even Eintracht Frankfurt, when you look at the way that they have constructed their attack, it's young players. There's no real number 9 in there. Yeah, Hugo Ekitike occupied that space as you laid out, but as you also rightfully stated, he doesn't really play like that classic number 9, does he? And I think there is that trend now there that you have many different attacking players that you can put in the front three, and that have the ability to stress defensive lines by creating different complicated situations, and not make it make it easy for them to calculate how these situations are going to create it, right? And it's a different way of playing, and a lot of top teams are doing it. And I mean, we look at Eintracht Frankfurt and the players that they're signing or targeting. We spoke in great lengths about Franjo Ivanovic, the USC guy from Belgium, right? And how he's sort of on their list already. And I understand that they are now working on maybe getting this player in. They too are following this principle. Johnny Burkhardt, this player that they signed from Mainz in a 20 million euro deal, is another player. He's an attacker, but he's not really a traditional number 9. And so you see this more and more now that clubs are kind of moving away a little bit from this principle. And Hugo Ekitike fits this, and I think Frankfurt, the way they're looking at replacing Hugo Ekitike, fits this as well.